So this will be one of my first long form videos that I've done in a while for YouTube. And I just wanted to introduce myself. I've been posting a lot of shorts, but long form is really where I want to get into because I want to share my story. I want to share vulnerabilities. I know we live in a world where a lot of people share their highlight reels, and while it can look from the outside that we all have our shit together, it can be really lonely to be scrolling through and viewing all of these highlight reels and then turning it back on ourselves and be like, well, why am I not there? We all know that there is a facade to what we share on social media. I feel like I actually do the opposite, and I share a lot of my shadows and vulnerabilities and insecurities of what I'm going through. That's kind of become something that I really want to help others with, because helping myself through it can oftentimes help others, and they can see themselves in your story and be like, wait, me too. So I always start off and say, I'm a singer-songwriter and I'm a mental health advocate and I'm certified in breathwork, but like these are all things that I have achieved but aren't who I am as a person. But I do write music, and music has saved me time and time again. Sometimes there's really no words for what it is that we're going through, and music just helps me make sense of the world. So I write music. I have been doing so my whole life. I have released, I think, probably about 45 songs. I have a couple albums. I have some singles. But music is really important to me. A few years ago, I spent a summer in residential treatment, and the trajectory of what my music stands for has really changed, in that I am a mental health advocate because I have to be that advocate for myself. I have spent a lot of time in my life dealing with depression, anxiety. I've been in therapy for decades. And I'm not shy about sharing my stories. It is hard sometimes when I think about how much time I've spent in therapy and how much I've moved through and how much I feel like I still struggle in the day-to-day. How much of my upbringing is not an excuse for how I feel, but how I can see the patterns that I've been conditioned into. I was a internationally competitive figure skater growing up. I had a lot of pressure on me from a very early age, and I feel like I've spent most of my life just trying to be what everyone else wants or needs me to be. And I'm really working now religiously on being enough and showing up in the world for myself, and not in the way that someone else needs me, or it's just very chameleon behavior. I recently went through a 10-year relationship that ended, and I saw, while there were beautiful moments and I definitely grew as a person, I also saw myself being lost in that relationship. And so now I'm in the process of rebuilding my foundation and looking at every piece and being like, is this something that we want to keep? Is this something that we need to let go of? And just really finding out who I am again. And some days it's great, and other days it feels really scary and lonely and like I don't know who I am at all, and what my purpose is. And I'm very grateful and blessed to have all of these things that I can contribute to the world. But sometimes I get almost like I'm frozen. Like I'm like, okay, I love music. I love sharing music. I recently got certified in breathwork. Breathwork is not something that is new to me. It's something that has been a practice of mine for about 10 years. And I was just looking for the right opportunity to get certified to facilitate it for others, for individuals, for groups. I've spent a lot of time sharing nervous system regulation with recovery groups, people that are in recovery for a myriad of things, mental health issues. Breath work is something that can help all of us, every single human being. The breath is something that keeps us alive, but it's also something that can help us move through our emotions, move through our stress, move through PTSD, move through trauma that maybe we haven't even discovered, that sits dormant or active in our system and wreaks havoc on our day-to-day, whether that's in a meeting or whether that's like, you know, you're a stage performer and you have performance anxiety. But breath is something that is free, and if we learn how to use it properly and consciously, allows us to reset our state. So I have definitely talked myself out of many panic attacks and just moments of overwhelm, and stopped myself from some major spirals. So we have the breath work, and then I've been a creative director. I went to school for graphic design, and I've had the opportunity to work with so many amazing agencies, and I worked for Sony Music when I was in my early 20s in New York City. I lived in New York for about 15 years before I moved here to Nashville. I'm originally from Chicago. I grew up in Boston. I've lived a lot of different places. I've also gotten the opportunities to travel around the world, and I love traveling. One thing that is hard for me now, or has been more recent, is that I get a lot of anxiety traveling alone, not feeling safe with myself, worrying that what happens if I have a panic attack, or am unable to feel safe when I'm by myself. I had a opportunity this past May where I was supposed to spend the entire month of May in Thailand, and I opted out of it, mostly because I needed to come home and reground and move through the grief that I'm going through right now, and really face it and not run from it. But a big part of it was that I was really scared to just be on my own overseas, and the what ifs. And so, you know, for someone that wants to travel and wants to have these experiences, it's something that I need to move through. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to do this intro video, and I want to start making more of these and be a space that's really safe for people to open up in the comments, send me a DM, take a look at themselves, and maybe they see something that I have talked about and they feel that too. Community and knowing that we're not alone in this world that expects us to just be on 24/7 is really hard, when sometimes we just need to take a breath and slow down and remind ourselves that we actually don't need to prove anything at all.